All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into some ancient wisdom that feels, well, surprisingly modern. We're going to see if we can translate the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, into a kind of practical field guide for life today.
And look, it's a totally fair question. I mean, we're drowning in data, we've got constant updates pinging our phones. So, what kind of text from literally thousands of years ago really tell us about our careers, our relationships, or even just figuring ourselves out?
Well, the answer, it turns out, is a ton. Because here's the thing. Our technology might have changed in unimaginable ways, but the fundamentals of human nature? Not so much. So let's explore how these ancient words can actually give us a sharp, clear lens for the world we're living in right now.
Okay, first up, we're heading into the marketplace. This part is all about how these ancient rules for business and justice apply directly to our modern lives, from the office right down to the online checkout.
This is just so direct, isn't it? Back then, business was done with actual physical scales. So using a heavier weight when you were buying something and a lighter one when you were selling, that was the ultimate scam. And the text doesn't beat around the bush. It says this kind of thing is detestable.
What this does is it establishes the absolute bedrock for a healthy economy, for a healthy society, really: fair dealing. It's framing honesty not as, a nice suggestion for business, but as the non-negotiable standard for how things have to work.
And this is where it gets so relevant. The dishonest scales of today might not be made of stone, but they are everywhere. Just think about misleading ads that promise the world and deliver something else entirely, or those hidden fees buried deep in the terms and conditions, or even algorithms designed to show us biased data. It is the exact same principle, just wearing a different outfit.
Oh, I love this one. It's such a perfect little snapshot of human psychology, right? It just captures this timeless negotiation tactic that we've all seen, and let's be honest, maybe we've even used it. The buyer complains, "Oh, this isn't worth it, the price is too high," but it's all just a strategy.
So let's just break down the play-by-play. Step 1, the buyer publicly trashes the item's value. Step 2, they use that negativity to get a lower price. And then, Step 3, they walk away and brag to their friends about the amazing deal they just scored. It's a bit cynical, sure, but it's a sharp observation that's just as true on Craigslist today as it was in some ancient bazaar.
Okay, so let's shift gears, removing from the public marketplace into the more personal, intimate world of our relationships. We're going to see how this ancient wisdom applies to how we talk to each other and treat each other every single day.
Now here's a famous one. On the surface, yeah, it's about alcohol. It paints this picture of wine as something that makes a fool of you, that mocks your judgment, and beer as something that just leads to fights. The core message is pretty clear. Letting yourself get carried away by this stuff is just not wise.
But the real takeaway here is so much bigger than just booze. I mean, think of this as a powerful metaphor for anything that clouds our judgment. It could be getting swept up in online outrage, making a reckless financial decision, anything. At its heart, this is a timeless call for simple moderation and self-control, no matter what the temptation is.
This piece of advice is just incredibly practical. If somebody tells you a secret that someone else told them in confidence, they're basically showing you their cards. They're telling you they can't be trusted. And the Proverbs' advice is brutally simple. Stay away from people who can't keep their mouth shut.
And this really gets to the heart of what makes trust even possible. The way a person handles information and talks about others. That's where you see their true character. Are they a vault or are they a leaky faucet? This proverb says that this one trait is a huge shortcut to figuring out who you can actually count on.
This is such a powerful, almost counter-cultural idea. We're so often told we have to fight every battle, stand our ground on everything, but this proverb just flips that whole idea on its head. It says that true honor, real strength, is found in the ability to de-escalate, to walk away from a fight that doesn't matter.
So, the core idea here totally redefines what strength looks like. It suggests that foolishness is just being reactive, jumping into every argument online to prove a point. Real wisdom is having the self-control and the perspective to know which hills are actually worth dying on. It's a quiet kind of strength, found in the discipline of choosing your battles.
All right, for our last section, we're turning the focus inward. And honestly, this is probably the toughest part of the guide. It's all about self-awareness, our real motivations, and the seriously hard work of understanding who we really are.
Here we have a classic farming metaphor with a message that's absolutely timeless. The sluggard, or, the procrastinator, doesn't do the hard work when it's time to do it. They put it off, and the consequence? It's completely inevitable. When it's time for the reward, for the harvest, their fields are totally empty.
This reveals a fundamental law of how reality works, and it applies to everything, from studying for an exam to saving for retirement or even working on a relationship. The timing of our effort is everything. This proverb frames procrastination not just as being lazy, but as a direct violation of the law of cause and effect, and it's one that guarantees you'll end up with nothing.
Now we're getting to the real heart of this section. This verse gives us this beautiful and, frankly, kind of intimidating metaphor for our own minds. Our motivations, our true intentions, they're like deep, murky water. They're not just obvious, floating there on the surface for everyone to see.
The really powerful idea here is that we often don't truly know why we do the things we do. Self-knowledge isn't just something we have, it's something we have to actually work for. It takes deliberate effort, this act of drawing out those hidden reasons from the depths. It's an active, ongoing process.
This is, of course, a rhetorical question, and the implied answer is a resounding no one. It's this moment of incredible humility in the text. It forces every single one of us to face the reality of our own imperfections, the fact that none of us has a perfect record. It's a universal statement on the human condition.
So, if our own hearts are like deep waters and none of us are perfect, how do we even begin to understand ourselves? Well, the text doesn't leave us hanging. It offers one last, powerful metaphor for the one tool that we all possess to do this exact work.
And here it is. The human spirit, you can think of it as our conscience, our capacity for self-reflection, is described as a lamp. And what does a lamp do? Its whole function is to search, to illuminate the darkest, most hidden corners of our inner selves. It's the tool we have for navigating those deep waters of the heart.
And so that's the question we end with. We spend so much of our lives consuming external information, the news, social media, entertainment, all of it. This ancient text challenges us to wonder what might happen, what might we discover if we just took a moment, quieted all that outside noise, and finally turned that lamp inward. What would we find in our own inmost being?